It's ferocious, downright diabolical, and outright deadly. This is Share Shootout League, the only stock picking show that matters. I'm Bruce Whitfield. You're watching CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. Now, we all know that the looting of spaza shops is wrong and criminal. But who thinks we should start looting gold for more fun? That's the only way we're going to get them. If the ANC still embraces the idea of Pan-Africanism, why do they want more border controls? And isn't it ironic how oil and gas companies are themselves running out of gas? Now, we don't know the answers to any of these, and we don't have any comebacks either to the senseless questions. What we do know is that the league is coming to a climax. This is league 2 matches away from giving us the best 4 stock pickers in the country. And as always, Twitter has again carried the final word, just as it did last week and the week before and the week before. Between Sasha, Bucks Narishkin and Neo the One Khansi. Bucks moves up to 18 points along with Running Dog. As you see, Sasha got the most tweets and retweets in that match, and he gets to the top of the leaderboard. Look at him getting closer and closer to the semis with those 3 points. Let's see how the league stacked up. We got Sasha equal with Gary, Running Dog on 18 points. Surely they are in the semi-finals by now. Then Nick, the value guy, is the closest to the leading pair on 15 points. Who said value investing is dead? Did the FM really put that on their cover? Was it Finweek? Closing the top 4 is K Live, one of the most popular analysts on Twitter. Certainly he's got the loudest laugh. You can't hear that on Twitter, which is why he's so popular on Twitter. The bottom is just as depressing, though. You got Shytown on 3 points. He's only won his first match. Lucky Barack Obama didn't have him on his team from Chicago. The one is on 6 points, with Maverick, the good guy, topping the bottom of the league with 9 points. Essentially, this is the league for you, the league for Share Shootout League viewers. You decide who wins the match and in the long run, who will ultimately win the league. The power is in the hashtag. You follow at SSO League. You tweet any of the stock pickers' hashtags. It's as easy as buying shares in oil and gas companies. Nobody else wants them at the moment either. Back to the match at hand, and our first stock picker is fresh from his Tuesday ritual of going to macro with the missus and talking to the local wimpy guy. Our second stock picker has relocated to Durban. I've no idea why. I give you the players.
Vianello. I'm an independent investment analyst and investment advisor. I like looking at themes. I devise themes to suit the particular investment climate, and I try investing in companies which fit into whatever theme I believe is appropriate for the business cycle at any one particular time. At this point, I don't have a game plan. This is the first time I'm in the competition, and I would say I would probably end up devising a game plan as we move along and as I get a feel of how things are developing. At this stage, I would simply say Sasha, simply because he's the longest serving member on the team, and he is a very experienced and very successful investment advisor in his own right. I wouldn't have entered if I didn't think I had a good or a reasonable chance of winning it. At the end of the day, it is a game and we're all here to have fun, but deep down, we all want to win it as well.
It's easy when you do it live because then you just keep flowing. Eh? My name's Lavan Gopaul. Because we're a futures trading house, a lot of it is trading single stock futures and the index. We try and be as swift as possible to get in and out of the market. So we look for gaps both up and down to take advantage of these moves for our clients. The game plan, it's a poker game, so you've got to keep a poker face, and we're going to be armed with all this knowledge and research, and we're going to be playing our strategy very close to our chest. So I think it's mainly a knowledge base more than anything. The biggest competitor's got to be Bruce Whitfield. He's always putting us on the spot and he steals all our limelight. I definitely think we've got a very good chance of winning the game. It's like playing poker. So we've got a very good knowledge of the market. We know all the stats and we know when to hold them and when to fold.
Now, both Sid Vianello, who goes by the Top Gun name Maverick, and Lavan Gopaul, who sounds more like Jack Nicholson as the good guy, they're both independent analysts. They're here to see if they can salvage some dignity out of the bottom end of the league. Maverick is 8th on the log of the good guys at number 6, but before they can change their league positions, they need to impress you, and we need to go over the rules. The house rules are, both players have got to pre-pick 3 shares. Only I know what are those 3 shares, or what those 3 shares are even, and each player must accept at least one of the other stock picks. It's not very complicated. Each has got 30 seconds to argue their stock pick. They can choose from the JSE, and we give them an offshore allowance as well. 1 international stock per round, just to rev things up a bit. The rules are out of the way. Let's get the battle. Let's get it done and dusted. Should we let the out-of-towner play first, Sid? Yeah. I think we should, absolutely. Come on, Durban guy. Lavan Gopaul, I like your first pick very much, but I wonder if it's not run too hard. We've seen lots of enthusiasm around this company, which explored the possibility, finally, after years of shareholder pressure, of an offshore listing for its food services business. You know I'm talking about Bidvest. Why do you still like it, Lavan? Because they've backed away from that now. 30 seconds.
So they've backed away from that listing. They've also turned down Grindrod Bank after looking at it very carefully. They're still on the acquisition trail. I think the lower energy price is going to be a big value add for industrial businesses in the whole. They've had a major success story by buying businesses that are good value and, of course, reworking it, holding on to strong management. They have a succession plan. So it's a 5-star business. I'm long on Bidvest.
Here we go. I mean, within your 30 seconds, but it's interesting how even their investment in Comair is finally paying. I think they paid about R2 a share for Comair. It's sitting at $5. Maybe they'll exit as the oil price remains low. Do you like Bidvest? There's a lot to like about it, but are you willing to pay the price?
Bidvest is a great business, but I'm not sure that I would want to be in it now. Very simply, it's true the lower oil price will be beneficial for them, but on the flip side, I don't believe that we're going to have economic growth of any magnitude this year. Exactly like last year, when the pundits started the year at 2-point-something% and we settled at we're going to settle at 1.4. I wouldn't be surprised we're going to settle this year at 1.4, even below, because without electricity, you've actually got no economy.
Electricity is the big issue, but there's also the issue of cut price fuel. You see it coming through in some of the trading updates already coming out of the retail sector, yes, where companies are saying there is more disposable income in the pockets of South Africa.
Bidvest is not involved in direct retailing. No. So on the one hand, there's some benefits. On the other hand, I just don't see enough economic growth to drive those earnings going forward. On the foreign side, on the offshore side, they are great businesses, but the Australian dollar has weakened as much as the rand has, so you're going to get no currency benefit, and the euro's also fallen out of bed.
That's another big one, isn't it?
To the rand.
That's another big one. The euro factor when it comes to Bidvest, Lavan, we've seen the huge depreciation since Mario Draghi a couple of weeks ago announced that he was going to quantitative easing in a very serious way.
Now, there's for those very reasons, it's probably a good reason to buy into Bidvest. The reason the euro has changed so much is because of €1 trillion swishing around. Some of that money is going to find its way to all of the goods and services that Bidvest is a vendor of. And yes, even though Australia, in terms of the currency, hasn't had too much of movement, you've seen genuine growth. But the real story here is lower energy prices creep into lower costs, which means on a bottom line, an improvement in the order of about 18 to 24% in terms of its earnings is the target that we can look forward to.
Is there not the other factor, of course, as well here, Sid, where we've got the hot money that swishes around after quantitative easing? We saw it support the JSE out of the United States. Quantitative easing, a lot of people are saying this nearly R1 trillion a month that's going to come through from the ECB into the European economy. Up until September, that's what they've committed to. Won't be enough to refloat Europe, so they'll have to embark on another round of quantitative easing. That money comes to South Africa. Sure. We've already seen the effect of portfolio flows.
I'm not going to buy Bidvest because I think the money that's swishing around is perhaps going to come into Bidvest. Bear in mind they spent a hell of a lot of money buying Adcock. Adcock is a complete disaster. And hold on, but we're not finished yet. Yeah. But we're not finished yet. They've now been doing scrip dividends, which is tantamount to a rights issue. So in other words, there's a lot more shares in issue. There's dilution to pay for earnings which are non-existent. So
You'll shoot it down.
I'll shoot it down.
You're shooting Bidvest down. You shot down on Bidvest, I'm afraid, Lavan Gopaul. Vianello, let's move on to your first pick. This is an interesting one. TsogoSun has been wanting to do a deal with Sun International. We saw toward the end of last week that the deal was blocked by the competition authorities. What is so appealing about a gaming stock in a low growth environment? In 30 seconds.
That's exactly not the reason why I want to buy it. Number one, they're the biggest hotel operator. We've got huge amounts of tourism coming into this country. They're a very, very strong player in the tourist market. I've just been on holiday. I hear what the people at the coast tell me. The hotels are chock-a-block. And secondly, the benefits of the fuel price creep into the middle class more so than anybody else. And those are the people who go to the casinos. Remember what I said when we were talking before the show started? It's things that you couldn't afford to do previously, like eating out, like going to the casino.
And the beneficiaries of that, I get, are the Spurs of the world, where you'll have an extra family meal this month because you've got 600 bucks.
And the famous brands.
All of that.
But
does it
some
really
of that
translate to casinos?
Some of that's going to end up in the casinos, because the very same people who are going to benefit from this lower fuel environment, a lot of them come from that middle class who are the major beneficiaries of the low fuel price.
And that's, of course, if Nhlanhla on budget day this month doesn't raise taxes.
And the third factor is that massive buyback has got, we've replaced equity with debt.
Okay.
Debt's going nowhere for a long time in this country. It's certainly not going up. Who knows, it may even go down, although I personally don't believe so. So for those three reasons, I like Tsogo, particularly at these lower prices post this transaction. That's not going to happen.
There's a lot of really good argument in there for buying a hotel and casino group, particularly the casino business, because these casino businesses make up 80% of profits of these Sun Internationals and Tsogos. You got to like it. Come on.
I like it. I'll just say ditto. I agree with everything he says. I believe in a weak currency environment. It makes South Africa an even more inviting destination for holidays. So we'll do well to promote our tourism and leisure activity. I
was hugely inspired coming back from Davos. I flew via Amsterdam. Don't ask why. But waiting.
I always go through Amsterdam now. I love it.
I know why you go through Amsterdam. Do you have a stopover?
No. Yes, I do. But with my family.
That's the caveat. But in the departure hall, just listening to people talking in accents, hardly a South African accent amongst the people on the KLM flight. Lots of Europeans coming here, bringing the battered euro to come and spend it on a battered rand.
Well, I can tell you, I've just been on holiday, as we do every year, and we go down to the coast. A year ago, end of 2013, the shopkeepers were bemoaning the fact that business had been so bad that entire year. All I can tell you is that the shopkeepers have been smiling since about February 2014. Business has been booming. Foreigners from countries that we wouldn't have thought of before, huge tour groups from India. From India, China, you name it, they are pouring in.
You look at domestic SAA flights, full of foreigners. So you're going to take it, Lavan?
I accept it.
You'll take TsogoSun. Let's stick with airlines, because airlines are quite an interesting business. SAA getting another effective handout from National Treasury recently. We've seen the Comair share price respond to lower oil prices. We see packed aeroplanes. We've seen airlines get better, Lavan, at jamming us into ever smaller spaces on ever more efficient aircraft. But it was Warren Buffett, the most quoted man in the world of finance, who once said, if investors had been at Kitty Hawk the day that the Wright brothers took off and shot down the plane, nobody would have known how to fly. They would have saved investors billions of dollars, because you've got to be mad to buy shares in airline companies. You must be mad because you're going for Lufthansa. Why in 30 seconds?
So I'm going long of the group because they've recently done a deal to get rid of some of their IT and electronics business to IBM. It adds extra cash on the books for them. They're focusing on their core business, which is travel. Of course, we've mentioned an extra €1 trillion in Europe, and that's likely to see a lot of activity, a lot of business travel. They've given Etihad a run for their money, not only domestically in Germany, but also on the continent of Europe. And of course, a weaker euro means that you're going to have a lot more activity. Oil price.
I once asked Imtiaz Ahmed, who in his day at Stanley was a terribly famous and well-known analyst. He's gone very quiet nowadays. I said to him, why didn't you buy airlines? And he went, they're like airplanes, too many moving parts. Every airplane's got 1 million moving parts. You only need one to break for it all to go pear-shaped. That's the risk with airlines. Do you like it?
Look, that is a risk with airlines, but Airlines haven't had their day for the last 20 years. But now with the fuel price collapsing, and remember 50% of fuel costs, or of operating costs, have got something to do with fuel. Airlines are going to have a good run. It's a question, of course, of to what extent has Lufthansa run already. I don't know the answer to that question because I've never looked at it.
It's on a multiple of 12 times.
But I would guess with a weaker euro and more tourists coming into that part of the world, they will probably be a major beneficiary, and to the extent that they do international trips,
yeah,
you know, they pick up a bit of the conversion in dollars.
You're speculating.
Airlines are the theme,
yeah,
the kind of the flavor of the month at the moment.
But it's all
and
good. It's all well and good. It's all well and good because now we've seen what the Saudis have done to depress oil prices in recent months, and oil prices have come down. Airlines have kept prices elevated, so their margins have expanded.
Absolutely.
But it's not going to take much for an Etihad or a Qatar, which have got these global hubs in the Middle East, to start cutting prices to hurt the likes of the Saudis.
It doesn't work like that. Because Etihad's got to get permission. They've got to get a landing slot at Frankfurt. And if the German authorities don't give them the landing slot, you can cut prices to smithereens, but if you can't land your plane, well, that's the end.
Okay. Let's also remember, Germans themselves are well-travelled.
Yeah.
They love...
And they will fly on in Lufthansa.
And of course...
Swiss.
Just within the continent, everything, even though they're in Euroland anyway, everything appears cheaper. The Swiss are happy to take a bus down the road to Germany just to take an airline flight, which is going to be cheaper.
To buy it.
I'll take it, and you'll take it.
It's a very interesting one. That instead of looking, I was waiting for Bruce to come up with an American airline, because you know the letter writers in America have been punting the American airlines for some time now. Lufthansa is a very interesting kind of
it's left field
kind of play on it, and I'm prepared to go for it.
He's taking your Lufthansa pick. Let's then go, Sid, to your second pick, your last one for this particular round. You're going to the smaller end of the market.
Yes, correct.
I'm fascinated by this one. In 30 seconds, tell me why you like Consolidated Infrastructure Group.
Very simply, there are two parts to the business, two major parts. Electrical infrastructure in Africa, and the environmental protection business or cleanup business in Angola, where they own 35%, and that's a major contributor to their earnings. The problems in Angola with the oil price do not affect that business in Angola because, number one, the cleanup has got to happen, whether the oil price is $40 or $100, and it's a dollar-based business. Your earnings are in dollars, and you're going to collect your dividends back in South Africa.
30 seconds are up. It's a short time, isn't it, 30 seconds? Constructive. Infrastructure Group, Consolidated Infrastructure Group. Is it one that you can buy, Lavan?
So I'm not an expert on the business. I do know that it's an illiquid share. I can tell you that I'm concerned where companies are of a smaller capitalization. A number of the big money managers haven't had a chance to
but that's where the
analyze, and I'm sure they are.
And when you look at Adrian Savile's Superdogs fund, was up more than 20% last year. I think 22%. Yeah. These are the unloved companies. These are the ones, the gems. When the big money managers do find out about them and start pushing the prices up, early investors, wise investors, brave investors, patient investors are rewarded.
Con infrastructure has been hammered because of this perceived exposure to the oil price in Angola, but it's not really an exposure to the oil price, and I think that's where the disconnect is.
So the disconnect means it's cheaper to buy. You want to buy it.
Yeah.
You're not buying it because you're going.
Yes, it's true. It hasn't paid dividends, but it couldn't pay dividends because it had to raise enough capital to fund its working capital cycle. But that's now been done.
So all you need is a little ripple outside of the country, in Angola or in other regions that they work in. And because of the illiquidity in the share, it could drop 20%, 30%
Coming
in a
back
few
from
days.
Davos and looking at the Africa theme, the strong theme, the huge interest in Africa investment, I don't know. You're shooting it down.
I am shooting it down.
This one's worth another look, I think. From an broad Africa foreign investment theme, there's an interesting story to be told there. Who will come out victorious and who will be left feeling less than glorious? The answers and more shares are coming up just after this. This is CNBC Africa. You're watching the Share Shootout League, the only league in the world without overtime. We cut it short. This is match day number 35. They're only 2 matches away from the first semi-final game. Your votes through Twitter got us here, and they will continue to decide who wins the match and ultimately the league. You follow at SSO League. You vote for either Maverick or the good guy, and you say who made the better arguments, who chose the better shares, whose face do you like more? Yeah, okay, maybe not that, but how clever are they? That most you can certainly judge them on. Lavan Gopaul likes Bidvest. He also likes Lufthansa, but Vianello shot down Bidvest. Doesn't think that's going to be a big enough beneficiary of the South African growth story, the little bit that might be there, courtesy of lower oil prices. But he likes Lufthansa. Lufthansa is a beneficiary, and lots of Germans like to fly German. Then Vianello likes TsogoSun, accepted, but ConsolidatedInfrastructureGroup was shot down. Let's go, Vianello, to your final pick. It's one of the more popular shares on the JSE. 20 years ago, it was a brand new startup.
Correct.
It is one of the miracles of the new South Africa. It made its founding chief executive and his pals who came along with him for the ride incredibly rich. It's also done very well for shareholders. It's
Correct.
gone global, big in the UK, bigger and bigger in China. It's taking its Vitality program and spreading that around the world. Discovery is pretty rich, though. Why do you still like it?
Why? Very simply because Vitality hasn't finished yet. Watch them go into Europe next day. They've now de-linked from Prudential, but they've got a strong base in England. Watch them do something in Europe, which I would predict is going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months. And I think that's going to be a huge boost to the business. Yes, of course it's expensive, but there are many businesses which remain expensive forever. And Discovery's model, which is to sell cover and not to sell investment. Quite frankly, if I want someone to invest my money, I go to a professional investment manager. Their business is selling cover. If I live for the next month, they keep my money. If I drop dead,
they pay you out, but you're going to live forever, so they'll cover you any day. Discovery, there's a huge amount to like about Discovery as a business and as a share.
They're also looking to expand into Asia, and that's a program they've spent a lot of time and effort in. Domestically, they've also spread out their offering. They've got a business called Insure, which would give you short-term assurance. They have businesses that involve reward programs for if you fill in at BP, you get payback. So they've taken Vitality to a different level. And I think that this model can be replicated successfully in Asia and in Europe. I think it's well run. I think there's still a lot of vitality on the board and a lot of, so they're able...
But it's a management team that when it started was very young. And 20 years later, it's a management team that is still in management team terms.
They're
young.
50 on.
Absolutely.
And
there's
innovative.
a lot of legs.
They've still got another 15, 20 years to go.
Yeah. If they want
Well,
to.
if it's Warren Buffett, they're going to carry on
Another
until
40 years.
Yeah, another 40 years to go.
I'm also told that the way they've designed their products, it's almost something that you cannot compare to another life product.
You try and compare their products. Good luck to you.
Which means that they stand above. It's a superior product from that point of view. I'm long and
You're
strong.
long. So you're taking 2.
I'll take it, yeah.
You're taking 2 of Vianello's picks. You said you had your TsogoSun accepted.
Good.
Consolidated Infrastructure was shot down, but Discovery is accepted. So, Lavan Gopaul, let's go to your final pick. Now, some shares are expensive forever. So, Discovery is expensive, Famous Brands is expensive, Naspers is expensive. You don't find too many...
Expensive. Very expensive.
Sorry, forgive me. You don't find too many sellers of them, however. You are, however, a seller. You're going short on luxury goods in the form of Richemont. In 30 seconds, tell me why.
So I'm short on Richemont because a number of their brands emanate in Switzerland. The Swiss franc being stronger means comparatively Richemont product is going to look more expensive. Now that's not the only aspect. Burberry and Tiffany have already found stiff competition in Europe and in Asia, trying to win favor with consumers. Richemont's already complained of that in a recent report. Loading on the currency issue, I think that they're going to fall short of Burberry, Tiffany, and I think Richemont's going to see a further dip.
I mean, yeah, he sounds like Johan Rupert, doesn't he? Because Johan Rupert's been calling the end to the boom in luxury goods for the last 7 years. Exactly.
But he's never sold a single Richemont share,
Absolutely.
despite calling the end to the boom.
Absolutely right. So, are you as negative as Lavan is on Richemont? Would you dare short it?
I would not short it. Very simply, I think people have miscalculated the extent to which the business is involved in Switzerland. The watch business is very strongly Swiss. But the rest of the business, particularly the Cartier, the jewelry business, even the pen business in Germany or what have you, it's actually predominantly a euro-based business. And the weaker euro obviously means your manufacturing costs of product manufactured in the euro land with, excluding Switzerland, makes it a slightly different proposition.
So it's for that very reason, if you split out the way the consumer market looks, 40% of their consumer market is European, who are now forced to pay a lot more. The other 40% sit in Asia, excluding Japan. Japan counts for another 10%, and then the rest, the US. So Japan, on a currency basis, again, paying too much.
Your arguments are done. I am the judge, the jury, and the executioner on this one. You're shooting down the short.
I'm shooting down the short.
I'm afraid your short has been shot down. Nobody wants to be shot down in their shorts. That much I can tell you. These guys need your votes. Their dignity depends on it. Voting closes Sunday at midnight. What you need to do, follow at SSO League. Use the power of the hashtag. You go for Lavan Gopaul, who's chosen Bidvest, Lufthansa, and Richemont. Lufthansa was accepted, but Bidvest and Richemont shot down. And Vianello, Maverick, TsogoSun, and Discovery were accepted. Consolidated Infrastructure shot down. Those are the picks this evening. That's where our guys are going tonight. It's up to you as to who wins this round and gets themselves lifted a little bit further from the bottom end of the bottom feeders. There'll be more Share Shootout League next Tuesday, match day number 36. It'll be the last of the allocated matches. It'll see former number 1, Nick the Value Guy, taking on the last place in the league, Matthew Shy-Town. Maybe you want to give some charity votes to Matthew next time. But after that match, it'll be like Donkey Kong as we start with the semis. We'll be here until next Tuesday, of course, at 8:30. Till then, do stay cunning. Bye-bye.